So good afternoon, everyone. We will start with a discussion of your module number two in computer programming 12A. So last week, as I have said, we were able to discuss the path classes, and at the same time, we also learned about the computer files. I was also able to at least give some examples or path demo programming activities and samples for the last module. So for today, we will go ahead and learn about the file organization, yan, streams, and the different buffers na tinatawag natin, and Java I/O classes. So, meron tayong two different topics for module number 2, which is ito. Okay? So, yan. Now, let's talk about the file organization, streams, and the different buffers. Ayan. So, kung nakikita nyo dito sa data hierarchy natin, yan, we have the following hierarchy. So, from file, siya yung pinakamataas, followed by the records, followed by the fields, and followed by the characters. So, let's try to define each of them. So, when we say characters, dito, in the lower part of the hierarchy, it can be any letter, number, or special symbols that can compromise any data. And usually, characters are considered as the smallest useful piece of data to the most users. So, ang characters kasi, kung mapapansin natin, are simply just a combination of any letters and numbers. And each character combinations or group of characters are now called what we call fields. So, yeah, fields are a group of characters that has some meaning. So, in the next part of the hierarchy, we can see here that these characters, when you combine them, nagkaroon na tayo ng mga different fields like yan, ID 786, Brown, Jennifer, 12.95. And once you collected all those fields, it will now compromise or it will now called as what we call records. So records are collections of fields that contain data about a specific entity. So for example here, in the fields ID 786, it will now contain a specific record which pertains to Andrew's record or either Brown's record or Colin's record. Yan. And records are grouped to create what we call file. So kung titignan natin maigi, this is actually a hierarchy of what we call a data. Yeah, so parang yung ginawa natin nung last time. So we were able to create a path class, and inside the path class na meron tayo, we were able to at least determine the exact file or exact path of a specific file. So each file contains the following. Now, bakit nga ba natin to dinidiscuss? This will actually be a preparation for the upcoming topic regarding or related to what we call the database management system. So, importante na alam natin ang data hierarchy na meron tayo. So, a data file can be used as a sequential access file. Pag sinabi kasi nating sequential, from the word itself, sequence, it will now follow a specific sequence. Okay? When each record is accessed one after another in the order in which it was stored. A file of what we call CSV or comma-separated values is one in which each value in a record is separated from the next by a comma. Later on, makikita natin sa mga examples ng Java program natin kung ano nga ba ang ibig sabihin ng CSV or ano nga ba ang itsura ng isang CSV file. So basically, literally siya na it is being separated by comma. And CSV is a widely used format for files used in all sorts of applications, especially in Microsoft Excel. So makakakita tayo later on kung ano nga ba ang itsura ng isang CSV file. Now, I want you guys to remember, since we are trying to create a Java application or a Java program later on, a Java application will now open a file by creating an object and associating a stream of bytes with it. Dun sa first example natin for Module 2, you will be able to see how this works. And after opening a file, yan, of course, the program should close a file. So there is actually a specific uh, lines of code that you need to follow when opening and at the same time closing a certain file. Parang ito. So, tingnan natin maigi itong diagram na to. Very simple diagram. So, When you perform an input operation in an application, ibig sabihin ng input, either it can be uh, a user input, yan, yung magta-type ka, pwedeng ganyan. So you can picture the different bytes flowing into your program, an input device, through what we call stream. Ito. These are stream, which functions as a pipeline or a channel. So from your user input, yan, meron tayong tinatawag dito na stream. And now, when you perform what we call an output, some bytes flow out of your application through another stream to an output device. So imagine your Java program dito, meron kang input stream dito. Kung natatandaan niyo yung discussion natin dati sa buffered reader, 'di ba? You are trying to stream an input, 'yan, dito sa loob ng application and will now try to output that particular input directly to your console. So when we say stream, it is an object, and like all objects, streams have data and methods which allow you to perform actions such as opening, closing, reading, and writing. So those are the four basic operation when trying to perform a stream. So, dito kasi sa Java I/O class natin, yung ginamit natin dati, itong buffered output stream, 'di ba? Kung natatandaan nyo, itong buffered reader and buffered writer. So, it is a part of what we call the Java I/O's classes. So, this figure, yan, it shows a partial hierarchical relationship of some of the classes Java uses for I/O operations. So far, ginamit na natin itong buffered reader. And as of the moment, ito yung nasa pinakababa ng Java I/O's class. So, we will try to use the following stream methods, such as the input stream and the output stream methods. So, those are just simply subclasses of object class. And all of the three mentioned are what we called abstract classes, which I think was discussed by your CP11B teacher before, kung ano nga bang mga abstract classes. So, abstract classes, yan, are or contains methods that must be overridden in their child classes at the same time. So, abstract, from the word itself, abstract, meaning hindi mo siya maintindihan. It contains methods that must be overridden. So, it can be overridden and it can be hidden at the same time. Ayan. So those are abstract classes. Now, since we are talking about Java I/O's classes, we have the following classes, yan, that you have to at least be familiar with. We have the input stream, file input stream, buffered input stream, and so on. So, hindi naman totally natin magagamit lahat yan, pero later on, makikita natin kung paano siya i-apply. Okay? So, and as its name implies, the output stream class, ito, we have void close, void flush, void write, and the following. So output stream classes can be used to produce output. So the table here shows some of the classes common methods like the following. Yan, yung mga close, flush, and write natin. So itong mga to, gagamitin natin to for our first Java program example for module number 2. So when you finish using an output stream, you usually want to flush and close it. So kapag ka na-close ka, yan, it closes the output stream. You also need to flush them. You have to flush the output stream. Yan, and so on. So tingnan natin tong sample natin. Let's try to do this example na meron tayo. Yan. So let's open our NetBeans. And I will try to recreate this program. Yan. The class name should be screen out. Yan. Screen out. And let's try to understand what this program is all about. So first of all, let's import java.io. Yan. So this means we are trying to use all of the classes inside the Java IO's class. So inside the public class here, we have a main method, main string. Yan. And this time, let's create a variable s with the following. Yan. With a following string literal.
Sir, ibang screen na tayo naka-screen, sir.
The
Naka-screen
screen is
share,
still in
sir.
the PDF. Okay. All done.
Opo.
Ayan, how about this one? Nakikita na ba yung code? Okay. So, yan. Okay, thank you. And again, I tried to at least declare the variable s with the following string literal a, b, c, d, and f. Now, on this part of the code, I will actually show you how are we going to try to put this a, b, c, d, f in a data variable using yan, the byte array with a data name on it, and we will try to put those bytes inside the byte data. So, ganyan siya. So, s.getBytes, meaning we are trying to at least get the following A, B, C, D, in F and put it here in the data byte arrays. And this time, we will try to output or use output stream object and name that as output. And for now, let's make it null. Okay. Now, let's create a try-catch method para dito. So, I was able to discuss ano nga ba ang purpose ng try-catch method. So, dito, we are trying to at least try to catch some errors. Yan. And once na nagka-error, dito siya pupunta. So, message. Yan. So, inside the try method, we will try to output, yan, use the output stream output system.out. Yan. Kumbaga, pinapahaba kasi natin yung, pinapahaba natin yung example ng system.out.println natin. But in reality, I'm actually showing you how the system.out.println works. Yan. So, output is equal to system.out. And this time, we will try to write the data. And output.write. Yan. So, ano yung sinusubukan nating i-write dito? We are trying to write the data, the values inside the data array which contains the string s variable, which is a, b, c, d, and f. So, kagaya nga ng sabi ko kanina, dun sa previous slide natin, once you write, yan, you will now flush them. Yan. If-flush mo siya, and at the same time, you will close the output stream. Tandaan nyo yun ha. Kapag ka nag-output stream kasi tayo, we are trying to write them, flush, and at the same time, close. Those are the main three methods na gagamitin natin every time we are using an output stream. What we are actually trying to do here is to simply print out, yan, we are simply trying to print out the A, B, C, D, and F to the console directly, but using an output stream. So, pwede naman natin itong gawin by just simply using system.out.println. Pero, ito kasi pinakita ko yung long method in which we uses the output stream method na tinatawag natin. Okay? So, this is only for, a preparation para dun sa magiging next activity niya, or next example natin. Ayan. So, tingnan natin dito. For writing to a specific file, we will now try to use the following standard open operation. Yan. Like the following: write, append, truncate, create new, create, and delete on close. So the next example here na ipapakita natin, finally, I will actually just simply show, or I will show you how to create a Java program that will now try to write something inside a file or a text file. So, yan, i-show ko ulit yung yung code natin. Ayan. So, let's create another Java class here, and let's call that as file out. Ayan. So, since this time meron na tayong gagamitin ng mga new input and output, do not forget to import the java.nio.file. Yan. We will also use the java.io for the output stream. And of course, yung ginamit natin nung last week, which is the import static java.nio.file.standard open option. Yan. So before anything else, I want you guys to prepare your text file somewhere in your desktop. So in my case, meron tayo ulit ditong data.txt na sinave ko somewhere sa desktop. So, kung gagamitin nyo yan, okay lang. So, ito, public static void main string args. Okay. So, I will now try to use the path object and name that as file. So, last week file path yan. Diba? So, ngayon, file muna. Path file is equal to paths.get and let's put the data.txt here. Yan. So, in your case, that will be a different URL. So, sa akin, ganyan ang itsura. Okay. So, next, we will now try to create a variable s which will now contain the message. Welcome to Computer Programming 12A. Okay. Variable s here contains this string here, itong welcome to Computer Programming 12A, and we will try to print this directly to the data.txt natin, na file na create natin. Okay, so first of all, we will now try to create an array data which will now contain the bytes or the byte data of the string s. So string, yan, s.getBytes, and nilagay ko yan dito sa data array. Next, since we are using output stream, yan, output stream output is equal to null. So, kagaya ng ginawa natin from the previous program natin, we are now trying to create a try-catch exception. Yan. Okay. So, inside the try, and output is equal to, this time, gagawa tayo ng object, new buffered output stream, which will now contains the files that new and output stream file and create. Ganyan siya. So, pag sinabi natin create, okay, pag sinabi natin create, based from the previous slide na meron tayo, create just simply opens the text file if it exists or creates a new file if it does not. Okay. So, kine-create natin kapag wala pa. Pero kung existing yung file, i-open niya lang automatic. Okay. So, let's now try to write the data. And let's try to flush output.write, tapos if-flush nyo, and at the same time, i-close nyo after flushing it. So, write, flush, and close. So, I am now preparing my data.txt text file. Sa ngayon, wala pa siyang laman. Hindi lang nakikita dito sa akin sa end ninyo kasi naka-project yung code. Pero in my case, the data.txt here doesn't contain anything. So once I write that, or once I run the code, yan, nothing happens. But then, once you try to open the data, the text file ninyo, it created another, or it opened the data.txt file, and now, it contains the word, eto, yung Welcome to Computer Programming 12A. Now, every time you are trying to change the value of S here, for example, hello world, tapos i-run nyo ulit ito, then automatic, the value inside the value inside the data.txt file here will now contain the new string value, which is itong hello world. So, in your case, gusto kong i-testing nyo to sa inyo para makita ninyo na nagpapakita talaga and nag-a-append talaga yung yung nilalagay nyo dito na string value. So, ayan, hello world. Nakikita dito sa akin eh. In your case, it doesn't show, pero pwede nating ilagay dito sa, say for example dito, I can just simply print a system.out.println uh, message was successfully added in the file path. Parang ganyan. So, ito, I am Jezreel Ian C. Manuel, for example. So, ngayon, ang laman ng text file ko is hello world. So, once I run that, it will now try to, ayan, print this. And once you open the data.txt file, ayan, napalitan yung hello world, naging I am Jezreel Ian C. Manuel. So, that's actually how this program works. So, just to review, meron tayo ditong path file that contains yan, the specific URL nung data.txt natin, kung saan siya nakasave. And now you have the text file, the string variable s, which contains the message that you would like to print directly to data.txt. And using the output stream object, yan, we tried to at least put the s value, yan, directly dito sa data array natin. And we try to write them, flush, and close them. So, ganun lang siya. Kung gagawin nyo siya sa ending nyo, makikita nyo na every time na nag-run kayo, nagpapakita rin ito. Nagpapakita rin yung natin, yung variable s na sinusubukan nating ilagay directly doon sa data natin. Yan. So, again, this is a code where we try to write something directly to the data.txt. Now, aside from writing, pwede rin kasi tayong mag-read from a file. So, using the buffered reader method, yan, we have the following methods here. We have the close method. We have the read method, read character, yan, read line, and at the same time, skip. So for our next Java program, we will now try to run or create a Java program that will read from a specific file. Babalik na rin naman natin. So kanina, itong file out na pinapakita ko sa inyo ngayon, simply tried to write something. Yan. So this is assuming na yung data.txt natin meron ng laman na I am Jezreel Ian C. Manuel. Yan. So ngayon, babasahin natin yung file na data.txt and we will try to read yung laman niya naman. Okay? So, let's create another Java program or Java class and let's name that as read file. Then, read file. So, this time, meron tayong import java.nio.file tapos import java.io tapos the main method, public static void main string. Ayan. So, I will just simply copy the path file na ginawa natin. Ito. Ayan. Paths.get. Okay? And this time, since we are trying to read a file, hindi siya output, but instead, input stream. So, input. Kanina, output stream, di ba? So, this time, we have an input stream, which is, ayan. So, let's create a try-catch method. Exception E, and a message. Or, pwede nating E na lang yan. Ayan. Direct yung ganyan na. Okay. So, again, we are now trying to read the file. Okay? Now, in order for you to do that, you will now use the input stream input. Okay? And use the new input stream file method. So we are just simply telling our program that, hey, this input stream contains the file path na meron tayo. Ito. Next, using the buffered reader object, buffered reader is equal to new buffered reader, new input stream, reader, tapos yung input natin. Medyo mahaba, pero this is actually how you create an object inside an object. So using this reader, the buffered reader object, we try to declare a new buffered reader instance with another input stream reader together with the input. Ano yung laman ng input natin? Itong file na to. So this is actually given sa code natin. So we will now try to create a variable string which will now contain a null value for now. Now inside the s variable is actually where we will now try to read the line na nandito sa loob nito. So reader.readLine, meaning we are now trying to read a specific line dito sa data.text. Okay, and after that, this time ipiprint natin siya. So print line, ano ipiprint natin? Yung S. So whatever thing na binasa niya as a line inside this data.text will now be printed out directly to the console. And last step, do not forget to close the input string. Okay, so run natin yan. Ayun. So as you can see, nung nirun natin siya, it actually printed out this string message kasi ito yung nandito sa loob ng data.text. So right now, subukan nating baguhin yung laman ng data.text natin. So sa case nyo, hindi nyo nakikita, pero dito, binago ko yung loob or laman ng data.text natin into something. So once I run that, of course, nagbago din ito. Now, the question here, sir, paano po kapag multiple lines? Kasi what we are trying to do here is to read a specific line. And based from the description of read line, it simply reads a line of text. So, ibig sabihin, that is given na iisa lang yung line of text na meron tayo. Pero this time, maglagay tayo ng another line of text. And let's see what will happen. In my case, I'm trying to add hello world sa loob ng data.text natin as a second line. Try natin kung mababasa. So, unfortunately, hindi nabasa. Diba? Hindi nabasa sa ngayon yung hello world na nasa second line natin. Because, the read line simply reads just a single line. Tandaan nyo na, it just simply read a single line. Saka natin i-discuss kung paano basahin totally yung nasa loob ng text file natin. Sa ngayon kasi, single line lang ang example natin, pero possible naman siya na mabasa. Diyan ngayon papasok yung tinatawag natin na CSV or comma separated values, which will be discussed in the latter parts of our discussion. Pero, ito, kung halimbawa gusto nyo magbasa or gusto nyo basahin lang ni code ninyo is a single character, you can just simply use the read method. Oops, kaso nagkaroon siya ng error. Hindi pa niya kaya. Pero it can simply read single character. May kulang kasi sa code natin, which will be discussed further. Diba? So ngayon, read line. Oops. Ayan. Read line talaga ang kaya eh. Pero, ito, kung maglalagay ako dyan ng next word sa I am awesome or next sentence, pwede niya pa rin basahin. Kasi nga, it can only read single lines of text. Ayan. So, that's actually the end of module number 2. Sabi ko nga sa inyo, sobrang iksi lang ng module number 2. And because of that, magkakaroon kayo ng or abangan nyo na lang later on sa canvas ninyo yung yung written work number 2, the multiple choice, and at the same time, a true or false activity. This module number 2, again, still cannot answer the programming activity number 4 that is posted in your Canvas account. Hindi pa yun madi-discuss kasi sa module 4 pa yun. Okay?